Good evening and welcome to our COVID-19 updates, a special edition on Channels Television on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and around the world. I'm Millicent Walker. Here are some of the highlights this hour. Today, more patients test negative to COVID-19 at the Yaba Infectious Disease Center as Lagos government rules out economic plans during the lockdown. And ahead of Easter celebrations, some states relaxed the lockdown measures. Now, what started in China's Hubei province, Wuhan, has now reached every continent except Antarctica, with COVID-19 cases globally rising to the beyond the 1.5 million mark. But that is if you are looking at the Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 Resource Center data. But for the World Health Organization, it is close to 1.5 million. Here in Nigeria, figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control NCDC says the number of COVID-19 cases in the country is 276. A breakdown of the cases in each of the states indicate that Lagos has 145 cases, FCT Abuja 54, Osun has 20 cases, Edo State has 12 cases, Oyo 11, Bauchi has 8 cases, Akwa Ibom and Kaduna 5 each, 4 in Ogun State, while Enugu, Ekiti, Kwara and River States have 2 cases each, with Ondo, Benue, Katsina and Delta States recording 1 case each. In Lagos, it is good news coming from the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who on Twitter today announced that 7 patients at the Infectious Diseases Center at Yaba have been discharged after testing negative twice for the coronavirus. According to the governor's message, this is a testament to the resolve in overcoming the lethal COVID-19 pandemic raging the world. Mr. Sanwo-Olu also says the contact tracing is being intensified for possible cases of the virus in different communities, with active case search team who can be identified with a COVID-19 outbreak response tag or a letter from the local government area. He's also asking for maximum support by providing accurate information that would help in containing the COVID-19 pandemic. Staying with the Lagos State government, it's been briefing residents on its efforts to curbing the spread of the coronavirus and also its impact on various sectors of the economy. At the media briefing today, the Chairman Economic Planning Committee and Commissioner for Finance gave updates on food security in the state and the plans for stimulus packages.
We are also happy to say that the food markets, the special food markets are also operating with limited operations in various places so that the economy does not ground to a complete halt. We are working assiduously to relook at the budget, basically to reprioritize it, to refocus it, to reorder it, to take into consideration the current challenges facing us. We need to do this to give us the best chance of stimulating the economy and ensuring that the response, the post-COVID response of the economy will be strong and will be enduring. We'll be looking at things around employment, things around food security, things around pushing income of the citizens forward, and many other responses which are in the works.
We are responsible for revenue management. We are responsible for expenditure management. We are responsible for debt management. We are responsible for investment management. And of course, we are responsible for governance. So from a revenue perspective, as we all expect, this, of course, will have a very huge shock on the government's revenue as businesses are under economic freeze, supply chain is being hindered. So to say, businesses are underperforming, and as a direct result, government's revenue is expected to dwindle. Are we managing this? From a Nigerian perspective, we are the only state who has more than 3/4 of its revenue coming from internally generated revenue, not just depending on the federal transfers. So with this, we are able to manage our expectation, we are able to manage our assumptions, and we are responding to those assumptions on a day-by-day basis. We are also exploring debt renegotiation strategies, even with our internal loans, to ensure that our revenue and expenditure benchmark is able to really fuel the repayments of this debt.
Well, for the Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Bayomi, the Lagos State government is focusing on intercepting cross-border incursions of Nigerians returning from neighboring West African countries.
You may have heard that there are frequent excursions across the Nigeria Republic of Benin border. We have been able to intercept 3 such incursions. And right now, as I speak, we have been able to meet and take into our care 67 Nigerians that have come from Côte d'Ivoire. And we've put them in one of our quarantine facilities in Badagry. And we're just about to receive another 27. The idea behind this is that we'll keep them for 14 days. Isolation, we will test them. And if they're positive, they'll move to one of our isolation wards. And if they're negative, we'll allow them to continue on their way to Osun State, which is where they originate from.
On education, the Commissioner promises more engagement for primary and secondary school students during the lockdown period.
Children keep learning. We were very worried about the inevitable learning slide that would occur when they're at home and not sufficiently occupied. And so we started to wonder about the best way to reach them. There were many options. There was the internet. Many people gave us e-solutions. But we found that majority of our students have inadequate, little or no access to the internet, but they would have access to mass media such as radio and television. And so we asked radio stations and television stations, some of who are here, to support us in continuing to teach over this period, no matter how long it is. And 1 or 2 stations came to our support, gave us airtime, and we started classes about 2 weeks ago.
Much earlier, the governor of Lagos State and his team went on a tour of the Oniko Isolation Center after commissioning the 110-bed facility. Governor Sanwo-Olu said the government will continue to provide the relevant support to the health sector to facilitate the fight on COVID-19. And it is freedom for over 2,000 inmates nationwide after President Muhammadu Buhari granted a presidential pardon. 70 of them are from the Kuje Correctional Center. Now, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Raufere Boshola, explained that after the release of the first phase of inmates, the Committee on Presidential Amnesty will continue to meet regularly to consider those who deserve the benefits. Also speaking at the occasion, the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, says the United Nations had called the nations of the world to reduce the number of inmates in custodial centers in view of social distancing attitude, while describing the flag-off of the 2020 presidential pardon as historic. Mr. Malami said the process of selecting beneficiaries started in 2018. He also urged the community to open their hands and receive the beneficiaries without stigmatization, lamenting that 70% of inmates in Nigeria's correctional centers are awaiting trial. And Caverton helicopters, offices and facilities in Rivers State have been sealed by the Rivers State government following a directive by the governor, Nyesom Wike, that the air transport organization should leave Rivers State following an alleged breach of the state's executive order to check the spread of COVID-19. The chairman, Obiakpo local government area of the state, Mr. Solomon Abel Eke, carried out the governor's directive by sealing off Caverton Helicopters premises at the Air Force Base in Rumomasi. The River State government had ordered the arrest and arraignment of 2 pilots and 10 passengers of the air transport firm at the Port Harcourt Magistrate Court. They were thereafter remanded till May the 19th ahead of the commencement of trial after ordering that COVID-19 tests be carried out on them to ascertain their status. The governor had earlier barred vehicles and flights from entering rivers as a preventive measure against the spread of the coronavirus. And now, following the measures put in place in Edo State to keep citizens safe, it's not a total lockdown following the number of positive cases in the state. And how ready are they designated healthcare facilities around to handle the cases? Well, the management of the University of Benin Teaching Hospital in the state capital says that it is aware of the concerns and has taken steps to enhance the hospital's capacity.
If you look at the way the building is structured, that other pillar, the other half, there is a door, a seal. It's more like a unidirectional flow. The patient go in through here, and once they go in, there is no return from that same door. There is an exit at another place following discharge. Any doctor or any health worker whatsoever that gets into where the patients are is fully kitted with the PPE, the personal protective equipment, the full body suit, okay? So that as much as possible, you are limiting the risk of infection.
Before 3 weeks ago, we didn't have a fully functional isolation center. UBTH did that. We have put out the isolation center. We have an ICU dedicated to this now, just 2 beds. We have the main ICU separate, which is full. The state government has promised us a lot of things, and hopefully the delivery will start coming shortly. Yes, we have the manpower, but we don't pray for the worst case scenario. Worst case scenarios, if we are talking about thousands of COVID positive patients, that would overwhelm. Even better developed society, their healthcare facility has been overwhelmed. So if we get to that worst case scenario, definitely will not be enough.
In the meantime, allocation of trading areas for traders relocated from markets to school grounds commenced in Benin City, the capital. The measure, part of steps the state government says is promoting social distancing in order to curb the spread of the virus.
We are giving them a space distance of 3 steps from each other to enforce the social distance. If not, there's no reason for them to come from the regular market. So we have tried settling them down now. Yeah, to have space of stores, which is one by a peg, then 3 steps after you get the other. We have gotten 101 now, which I try to put to settle down here. The people you are seeing outside, they are the people that did not get in here because there were more than 500 here. We select the random people here to get 110. If we are getting 5 gari, we are getting 5 oil. We are getting 5 meats. We are getting 5 rice and beans. That's how we pick all randomly to get 110, which is settling down here. After finishing settling them down here, because today is the day 1, we'll now go outside to clean the environment. You can see our enforcement team is coming now to clean the environment. We don't want to see anybody standing outside the primary school or says we are a buyer. And once the buyer enter more than 50 or 100, we shut it down till others will come out before we get other people in.
Still to come on the program, what about the active K-Cert team in Lagos? We have more on the contact tracing efforts of the government. Please join us again. Welcome back. Now, restrictions have been relaxed in Bayelsa State, a state without a confirmed case of COVID-19, following an appeal by the state organs of the various Christian bodies. Churches with large congregation would now be permitted to have 50 persons, while 20 persons for smaller churches. The state governor, Doye Diri, emphasized that this measure was specific to church services during the Easter celebration. According to the governor, after Easter, the lockdown would go back to normal with an extension of 2 weeks, which would be reviewed every 2 weeks until the pandemic abates. Also in Ogun State, it was relaxed, the stay-at-home directive earlier today from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. to enable residents restock their basic needs. Meanwhile, the Ogun State chapter of the Nigeria Labour Congress had challenged the state government to evolve a more effective strategy in the distribution of the stimulus packages to beneficiaries in the state. In Taraba State, the governor there, Darius Ishaku, approved the relaxation of the lockdown earlier imposed on the state to prevent the spread of COVID-19 with effect from today, where until further notice, markets, shops and other places of business are allowed to operate between 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily instead of the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, human and vehicular movements are also allowed during the period with caution to avoid large crowd gatherings and to maintain social distancing. For the poor household in Jigawa State, the federal government has disbursed the sum of 1.5 million naira to over 75,000 people in 9 local government areas. COVID-19 Relief Fund. The governor, Badaru Abubakar, who participated in the distribution at one of the centers, says there are plans on ground to scale up the program to other local councils in the state. But in Kwara State, it is a total lockdown of the 16 local governments in that state until further notice. Now, the chairman, Technical Committee on COVID-19, also the Deputy Governor of the state, Mr. Kayode Alabi, announced this while addressing journalists in Ilorin. He said the order would take effect from 6 today. That's 6 p.m. this evening. However, markets will be open on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays between 10 and 2 p.m. Let's talk more on dissecting this issue of the pandemic in Nigeria and across the world. Joining us in our Lagos studio is Dr. Omobolanle Johnson, a public health physician. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Now, we hear the Lagos State Governor talking about more efforts in contact tracing, and he has said that they've established the active case search team that go out to identify possible COVID-19 symptoms or patients of the sort, saying that you can identify them with a tag or a letter from the local government. I understand you're one of, the team members.
Yes.
How will this work?
Well, I would talk about the island where I work. And so we have different teams, and they go to 1-2 people. They go house to house. And what they're looking for basically is anything that could have been coronavirus. What is it? We're actually looking in the community. As you've heard recently, 45% of the cases that have been picked up in the recent days have been in the community. Most of the time, some of them we can't find where they got the disease from. We can't find any traceable contacts. So now we have to look at ways at where in the community people who have this disease, because we know that most of the people that we see in the hospital are just a fraction of the number of people for any disease that we see. So we're going in the community just to make sure that we don't have any person with an active disease that is able to spread diseases to other people. So these people will come, they will identify themselves, and they would ask questions about anybody who in the last 2 weeks had fever, a cough, or a difficulty in breathing. They would also be going to hospitals and looking for any of the symptoms that would point to COVID-19. And after that, another team would go, if this person wasn't picked up previously, they would have those tests done.
But how does this work for some of the cases we hear have been asymptomatic?
Yes, for those asymptomatic cases, we really can't do much about them. But there are some people who are still symptomatic and who haven't been to hospital, and they can still pass on the disease in the community. So we're trying to look for them. And then even if they have recovered, we can now see if they were not self-isolating, we can look for their contacts and make sure that none of them have the disease.
So this also means that Lagos State is increasing its testing.
Yes, Lagos State is increasing its testing. As at last week, the number of test centers went up to 3. And as we were told, they said we're going to try and do at least 300 tests a week in Lagos State. And as we've gone up to, I think, 3,000 tests in the whole of Nigeria. And testing is very, very important to stopping the COVID-19 disease. So yes, we are testing. It's integral to ending the disease.
Today as well, the Lagos Lagos State government coming out with sweeping reforms in light of the pandemic. Some people say this seems to suggest that maybe we are preparing for an extension of the lockdown. What's your take on this?
Well, two things. And by virtue of the fact that we're going and we're actively searching for cases, it may seem that we have a lot more cases because there's increased testing and we're looking for cases. Second, a lot of people are not socially isolating. At best, what we have now is community isolation. So we don't really have the full picture of what is happening now. And so Lagos State really has to ramp up the procedures, because if they don't do that, what will happen is that they would let everybody go, and in another 2 weeks, we'd have a spike and we'd all have to go back to being isolated again.
So as a healthcare worker, how prepared are you, or is the government prepared for you to go on this task?
Well, they have a lot of partners. They have partners from WHO, and many people have volunteers. In fact, many of the people working on this are community volunteers. They're young people who don't have anything to do, and instead of sitting at home, have volunteered to work within their communities, go door to door, and try and end this COVID disease. So, Lagos State government, of course, will give some support for this, but many of the people working on this are volunteers.
All right, we wish you the very best in this search. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Omobolanle Johnson, a public health physician, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Well, with the number of confirmed coronavirus cases now exceeding 1.5 million globally, it indicates a rise of 500,000 in 6 days after the total hits 1 million on Friday. According to data from Johns Hopkins University, almost 90,000 people have died globally. More than 337,000 have recovered. The U.S. has the highest number of confirmed cases, with more than 430,000, followed by Spain, Italy, and Germany.
The head of the World Health Organization has defended his agency's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic after U.S. President Donald Trump's criticism and suggestion that Washington could review funding. President Trump had accused the WHO of being very China-centric and said they really blew their pandemic response.
No need to use COVID to score political points. No need. You have many other ways to prove yourselves.
And finally, it's good news for South Korea and New Zealand as both countries continue to see their number of new coronavirus cases decline.
Well, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control is live with updates on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria across states. You can take a look at several guidelines on how to effectively self-isolate as well, and what it means by social distancing, which has been said to be very key to staying alive at this time. Also, the live feed of the World Health Organization each moment has regular updates about the spread of the pandemic. You can see the figures there, 1.4 million there. You can also take a look at the efforts across board, advisories and all concerning the pandemic. It's at your fingertips. Thank you for watching. We have the COVID-19 update again at 9 p.m. Do join us then. I'm Millicent Walker. Bye for now.